लाहौर दी पली बड़ी हाँ पर 30 साल इत्थे रह के पंजाबी थोड़ी थोड़ी इंग्लिश नाल मिक्स हो गई है हुण ते माजरत करना मेरी तकरीर अद्धी इंग्लिश च होएगी ते अद्धी पंजाबी विच but I will start by acknowledging the sovereign owners of the lands that we gathered on, the Darug people, and pay my respects to their elders past and present. No matter where we are in this country, we are on stolen land. Sovereignty was never ceded. This is, always was, and always will be Aboriginal land. And as people of South Asian heritage, I think we know more than most the ravages and the impacts of British colonialism. And so I think it is more of a responsibility for us, and it is incumbent upon us to be strong allies of First Nations people and stand alongside them in their struggle for justice and self-determination, especially now when there is something on the table to move forward on that justice, but there is a pretty terrible divisive debate going on in society as well. So I stand before you as a very proud Punjabi woman, as the Deputy Leader of the Greens, and as your Senator for New South Wales in the Australian Parliament. And for me, it really has been such an immense privilege to represent the community of New South Wales in Canberra. और मैं तुहानू दस नहीं सकती कि इस कॉन्फ्रेंस ते आना मेरे लिए कितनी वड्डी इज्जत हैगी. So धन्यवाद, बड़ी मेहरबानी मैनू इत्थे बुलाउण तो. It's a real honor and a privilege. And over the years, many people have asked me why I joined the Greens. Most of them think that because I'm an environmental engineer, obviously environment and Greens go together. And yes, the fight for climate justice, we know, is the fight for and of our lives. But tonu sach dassan, initially I was attracted to the Greens because of our unwavering commitment to social justice and human rights, and especially for minority communities. Not just in Australia, minority communities do suffer a lot no matter where they are, but so the Greens stand for them, not just in Australia but across the world, is what attracted me to it. Justice for refugees, justice for Palestinians, justice for the Uyghurs or Kashmiris or Sikhs or Muslims, no matter who it might be, who are suffering injustices around the world. And that really reflected my values of fairness and the right for all to live in peace and in dignity and in safety, without discrimination, no matter what your religion is, or background, or bank balance. So I am proud that we boldly speak out on issues that no one else speaks out on, but which are so critical, and I've really come to appreciate the important role that we play in amplifying the difficult conversations. Communities have these difficult conversations, but often politicians don't have these conversations or don't speak out in the highest office in Australia. And minority groups, no matter where we are marginalized, we are discriminated against. And mainly, what for? For political power and for political agendas. That's kind of what I've learned in my political journey. And no matter where these human rights abuses happen, our communities, we know we spread around the world. We are everywhere. And no matter where those human rights abuses happen, no matter where we are, we all suffer. The diaspora, no matter, where, in which country we are, we suffer. And I think Shabir was saying, I might reflect a little bit on my experiences. I actually was the first Muslim woman to be elected to any parliament in Australia. That was in 2013. And I was very surprised because we all, Muslims, Sikhs, have been here for a very, very long time. And it was only in this century that, the first Muslim woman was elected. That kind of shows the name. Thank you. But that shows how much work we have to do in this country as well, till we actually are treated as equals, until our First Nations people, of course, get that equality as well. I just want to talk a little bit about the situation in India, because I speak to so many people in the community who highlight the dangerous nationalism that is going on at the moment with such strong anti-Sikh as well as anti-Muslim sentiment that is there. And that does have direct impacts on the diaspora in Australia. I have spoken to so many people. People have shared with me logs of messages on large online communities on Facebook and WhatsApp where such hate speech is being targeted towards the Sikh community, and especially those who might speak out against the really hyper-nationalist agenda that is going on. Because words are, of course, harmful, but words can also escalate. And we saw a couple of years ago several publicly reported incidents of violence and altercation between groups, and of course that attack on 4 young Sikh men in Harris Park at the height of the domestic protests in India over farming laws. So the impact of these hateful politics on so many in our community, of course, is extremely concerning, and I have spoken about it in the Australian Parliament, and I will continue to call on the government and the Prime Minister to condemn far-right politics and to tackle the hate that is targeted towards us minority communities. I think we need more politicians to have a little bit more courage and look after everyone in the community. But I do now want to turn to the incredible work and the amazing spirit of the Sikh community, both here and in India. And I want to start with India because something that inspired me so much over the last few years were those mass actions in 2020, 2021, when tens of thousands of farmers got together to repeal the farm laws. And I know that so many of them were from Punjab and Haryana and did belong to the Sikh community. And people across the world joined in solidarity with those farmers. And to me, it just showed how it's done. The spirit, the solidarity, and the resilience that was shown by the Sikh community at that time is an example for everyone across this world on how, if people are united, how change can happen. But I also do want to acknowledge that that struggle is not without cost. And it does take its toll on the people who are involved in that struggle, and we must never forget that. And one of the last things I'll say, but the most important thing that I have to say, is to give the community a massive, massive thank you. There's so many things, and I'll talk about a few of those, but thank you for all the support that the community gives. I actually used to live in Port Macquarie, very close to the Sikh community there, and it's incredible, what happens around there and how kind of, united and how part of the Australian fabric the Sikh community is. But I know that the values of service, humanity, love, and care are so aligned with your Sikh values and are driven by the Sikh principles. And having grown up in Lahore, I grew up with exactly the same principles, and I share those with you. But I was just thinking about COVID-19 and how so many Sikh organizations, so many gurdwaras, and hundreds, if not thousands, of volunteers from the Sikh community did such extraordinary work. You organized food and help for hundreds of thousands of people across Australia. The elderly, those living in public housing, and so many more. And it was so needed because so many people were left with no support at all during a time when so many of us were isolated and separated from our loved ones. I know it was very hard for 2 years. My mom lives in Lahore, and I didn't know when I would see her. And then that atrocious thing happened when the government actually, for a little time, stopped people from India coming back here. And I can tell you, I spoke out very loudly about that, as did my Greens colleagues, and as you did in the community, and it was good that speaking out worked, and that, that crazy idea was overturned pretty quickly. But apart from supporting the community, you supported frontline workers as well in hospitals, providing them with the support and food. And I know that this followed on for the incredible work many in the Sikh community did to support people after those climate-induced horrific bushfires as well in 2021. And I hold the education portfolio for the Australian Greens, and for me, I am particularly thankful for the support and the love you gave international students at that time, because I was contacted by hundreds of them who were in real strife because the government had left them completely high and dry. And I think a few people said at that time, if you want to get anything done, get 6 to do it. And I think that is so true, because you do such amazing work in the community. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you. Thank you so much for that. But I do want to point out, and I've learned quite a few lessons in my 5 years in the Australian Senate, so this is one of them, that while many politicians and governments in Australia over time have been very quick to celebrate multiculturalism, right? They often say, oh, this is the best multicultural country in the world. And they kind of enthusiastically share our food and our culture. They use us as photo opportunities during our festivals like Vaisakhi, Diwali, Eid, no matter what it might be. And that's good, because as you know, Punjabis are very generous people, and we're very, very happy to share what we have with the community and the country that we now call home. But I think governments and those politicians who are very quick to use those opportunities are very slow to actually address the real issues that we face in this country. There's racism, there's discrimination, there's so many, people from our communities are exploited at work. Many of us are temporary workers, and the exploitation is rife in temporary work. So how do we change this, I guess, is the question. And one of the important things I've also learned on my political journey is that sade vaste koi laal qaleen nahi bichha raha. No one is going to roll out a red carpet for us, to be really frank. We have to roll up our sleeves and get to work, as you all have been doing for so long, for so many in the community. And the Sikh community, like I said, have shown us over and over how brave and courageous you are, and how much capacity and capability you have. And I think we have to use the same capacity and the capability to get really involved in politics. And try and force the politicians that we have at the moment, or become a politician yourself if you're so inclined. I'm very happy to have a chat with anyone, and I know so many young South Asian young people do talk to me a lot about how they could be part of the political system. So please keep doing what you are doing, with the hope that things can change, because they will change. Thank you so much. Dhanyawad.
ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ।
ਘਰ ਪੇਂਟ ਕਰਵਾਉਣਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਹੋ ਤਾਂ ਮੇਰੀ ਸਲਾਹ ਮੰਨੋ, ਪਾਬਲਾ ਪੇਂਟਿੰਗਸ ਤੋਂ ਕਰਵਾਓ। ਬੜਾ ਹੀ ਕਮਾਲ ਦਾ ਕੰਮ ਕਰਦੇ ਨੇ। ਇੰਟੀਰੀਅਰ, ਐਕਸਟੀਰੀਅਰ, ਫੀਚਰ ਵਾਲਸ, ਵਾਲਪੇਪਰਸ, ਫਲੋਰ ਪੇਂਟ ਅਤੇ ਰੂਫ ਪੇਂਟ, ਸਾਰਾ ਹੀ ਕੰਮ ਬੜੇ ਹੀ ਜਾਇਜ਼ ਪ੍ਰਾਈਸ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਕਰਨਗੇ। ਫ੍ਰੀ ਕੋਟ ਲਈ ਅੱਜ ਹੀ ਕਾਲ ਕਰੋ ਸੁਖਵਿੰਦਰ ਸਿੰਘ ਨੂੰ 0413 361 178 0413 361 178 ਪਾਬਲਾ ਪੇਂਟਿੰਗਸ।
ਸਿੰਘ ਸਵੀਟਸ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਰੈਸਟੋਰੈਂਟ, ਦੇਸੀ ਘਿਓ ਦੀ ਬਣੀ ਸ਼ੁੱਧ ਮਠਿਆਈ ਅਤੇ ਹਰ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਦੇ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਪਕਵਾਨਾਂ ਲਈ ਯਾਦ ਰੱਖੋ ਸਿੰਘ ਸਵੀਟਸ। ਇੱਕ ਵੇ ਜਾਂ ਡਾਈਨ ਇਨ ਕਰਨਾ ਹੋਵੇ, ਹਮੇਸ਼ਾ ਖੁੱਲੀ ਪਾਰਕਿੰਗ ਮਿਲੇਗੀ। ਬਲਕ ਆਰਡਰ ਜਾਂ ਫੈਮਿਲੀ ਡਿਨਰ ਕਰਨਾ ਹੋਵੇ, ਫੋਨ ਕਰੋ 0417 578 287। ਨੰਬਰ 5 ਕਨੈਕਟ ਰੋਡ, ਟਰੁਗਨੀਨਾ, ਪਾਲਮਰਸ ਰੋਡ ਅਤੇ ਡਹਰਟੀਜ਼ ਰੋਡ ਦੇ ਕਾਰਨਰ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਸਿੰਘ ਸਵੀਟਸ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਰੈਸਟੋਰੈਂਟ।